Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Waffles RC. Just real quick, an update on the semi. I do have the servos ordered for this thing to replace all the leg servos, and this light bar up here, I plan on getting a new light bar for that and for the truck, so that way they match. And it seems like a better system too, so that's the quick update on that. But since we can't work on that because I don't have parts, what we are going to work on is, like I said in the last video, our 10,000 subscriber build. Where we're at with this is we have the body mounted to the frame. That's it. So now we have to mount a whole bunch of other stuff to actually get this to sit on its own wheels. And as you see here, we have all the parts. So we have links of multiple sizes and shapes. We have our axles, which are some just regular straight axles, not portals. We have our forward mount transmission, transfer case, drive shaft, all that fun stuff. We also have our shocks, coilovers, whatever you want to call them. Here they are, covered in oil. I'm not happy about that, but we got brake clean. We have tires. I didn't go super big with them. I think these are, doesn't even say. I will measure them later, but I didn't go super big with them. And some pretty decent looking wheels. Beadlocks, of course. So on your journey to building your own RC car, or a chassis at least, I'm going to walk you through a couple of the tips that I use when making my own frames and trying to get everything set up. No, they are not the one and only way to do it. It's probably not even the correct way to do it, but obviously my way seems to work, because most of these have these frames on them. So the first step we need to do is figure out ride height, which is going to involve the coilovers and our wheels and tires. So let's go through the super fun process of putting beadlock wheels and tires together, because I need all four of them. There you go. There is one wheels and tires. Wheels and tires? One wheel and tire. You get it. This is how I personally have found the easiest way to put beadlock wheels together. As you saw, I left everything together and I put all these small bolts in on the beadlock ring. I go cross pattern the whole way to, one, keep from warping, two, when you do beadlocks in real life, that's how you're supposed to do it. So it's ingrained into me that that's how you do it. I then tighten up the bolts for the hex adapter, and then I flip it over, take the back part off that only has 6 bolts, put the tire on, and then bolt it together in a star pattern, and that's how you put them together. Now, I have seen a lot of reviews on Amazon when it comes to wheels and tires saying that they don't fit or anything like that. As you can see, I've had my fair share of wheels and tire choices and trying to assemble them. So let me give you one helpful hint when it comes to looking for wheels and tires. When you're on the internet, make sure that the width of the rim, especially the beadlock piece, is relatively close to the tire. Because if the tire is significantly wider on the inside portion, if it's significantly wider than the wheel, then that's when you come into the issue of fitment, where a lot of people say that you need that little clamp thing to clamp it together so that way you can get everything lined up and the bolts will actually reach. Well, as you saw in that time lapse, I did not use one. That's because I chose the right width rim for the width of tire that I was doing. What are those measurements? I have no idea. That doesn't say anything. This too says nothing. But online, when you're looking, it'll give you dimensions of the diameter, width, all that stuff. Make sure that they're relatively close. Now you can squeeze a significantly wider tire onto a thinner wheel, but I'm just giving you the heads up that when you're looking at wheels, some of them are only like 30 millimeters wide, while these will be 45 millimeters wide. So you have to compress it 15 millimeters just to get everything to sit, and then it bulges out super bad. I have a couple of them that are like that. That's when it gets tricky. So there's my helpful hint. Now to the next part. We have our wheels and tires together, and I took the coils off of the coilovers for a reason that I will explain. So I need to mount the coilovers onto the axle along with the wheels and tires, but trust me when I say this, put your coilovers on first, then your wheels and tires. So people have asked in the past, what wheels and tires do I use and like regularly recommend or anything like that? I don't. The way I pick wheels and tires is what is suitable for the particular build that I am trying to do at that moment. Like this one, it is a 59 Impala. Sorry, I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. It's always a bit of a struggle. So it's a 59 Impala, straight axles, trying to keep it old school-ish looking with a little bit of a newer flair. But I also didn't want to go super crazy with it, which is why I didn't do portal axles. I did straight axle. My whole idea behind this particular build is classic, old school. Somebody got an Impala body or had an Impala, decided to take the frame out and slap it on a full-size truck frame. That's my thought behind it. And also, sticking with the old school theme, I went with some super swamper-ish tires. Thought it would fit the theme. And as you saw from when I showed you all the parts, both the tires and wheels are Enduras. I don't run only Endura stuff because I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I have the freedom of choice. And since I have the freedom of choice, I can run whatever I want, which is more in tune to the average person like you. So my true thought process on all of this is go with what your budget allows, first off, and then go with the style of the build that you're trying to do. Because in reality, we're all limited by the budget, and not everybody has the budget to build a $3,000 RC car. So this one is not going to be that much. Oh, and by the way, these coilovers, they were completely covered in oil, and the oil that was in them was in the bag that it shipped with, which is why I don't run oil. I put grease in these. That's all I do. I don't run oil. That is a personal preference. You do what you like. I do what I like. Okay, we have this on. Now, time for the body. As you can see, we have a very technical figure out the height that we want. And yes, the tires are all very close. But the reason why I have the coils off of the coilovers is because this is where I want it to sit at full bump. So ignore the fact that the pumpkin's upside down right now, because that doesn't matter for right now. Oh, it's also backwards. Whatever. So I'm trying to figure out, this is where I want it at full bump. I take the coils off of the coilovers, bottom them out, and then I mount it to the frame. So that is basically as high up as the tire will go. Once again, I've learned over the years of doing all of these that setting them up at right height is incredibly difficult, because then everything compresses and it rubs into the body. Then you have to cut a lot out of the body. But since I started doing this, I have to do very minimal cutting, and then I can adjust the final ride height with the springs, putting softer, harder, whatever, adjusting the collars. It's a lot easier to do it this way. So now I have this set up. Now I just need to get the axles where I want them, mark it, and then make some tabs for the shocks. It's really just that simple if you have a welder and a grinder. Okay, so as you can see, some stuff has happened. I got the axles mounted on, it's fallen off, and I have links on the rear axle. Personally, I like to use metal link ends, but the quality has gone down over the last year or so kind of questionable on it. So unfortunately, that means I'm back to plastic link ends. If you are going to use plastic link ends, do yourself a favor. Get you an M4 tap and tap all of these before you try and thread them on. None of them ever come tapped. I'm sure the higher quality ones or higher end ones, they probably do. Most ones that I get, which are very cheap, don't. So M4 tap will make your life a whole lot easier. It takes an extra 10 seconds to do it. So normally the way I build these chassis is I'll just put a tab down on the bottom of the frame, on the top of the frame, and call that good. That's where the links mount. We'll go from there. But you know what? I think we're going to take the extra step and actually make a skid plate. I know, we're getting crazy around here, but don't worry, it's not going to be your normal skid plate. That's right. Very heavy steel. But skid plate. Let me cut this and some mounting points and then go from there. I sure am glad that I cleaned up my workbench and it was really nice for like a week. It is no longer really nice. But that 1 week where it was nice and clean, Alright, so here's the plan, hoping that it works. We have skid plate. Sits like so. Put this somewhere in here using some type of measurement. Do the other one on the other side. Cut out a little area for the link to be able to travel throughout its travel so it doesn't hit it. And call it good. Well, sorry for not keeping you up to date, but got the rear axle on. Everything moves quite nicely. Now I may have gotten a little carried away and just kept on working. And I tried something new, which in my opinion, in this hobby, you always got to try something new. So let me explain what I tried. We'll see how well this works out in the long run. So you join me under my Jeep. At least it's my Jeep for the time being. As you can see, it has a long arm kit on it. I no longer have the short arms, I put a long arm kit on it. And as you can see, the upper control arm is mounted to the lower control arm, creating a radius arm. I feel like this helps with articulation. It's very popular in the Jeep community. So if they did it here, why can't I do it here? As you can see, all I did was weld the upper control arm link, which is mounted still to the axle, just welded it to the lower control arm, allowing it to still travel. Yes, it moves side to side. It's going to need a track bar. That's coming up next. But it still allows it to move side to side. So it still allows all the flex that it needs. And I only lied a little bit when it comes to using the plastic links instead of the metal links. I did use metal links on the axle side of all these control arms. The plastic links, or the plastic link ends, are at the mounts on the frame. I did the metal ones, the axle side, so that way I have adjustment. So the pinion may be too far back, but I left enough adjustment here that I can loosen up that upper control arm, adjust it out, bringing my pinion angle up, so that way I can get this thing to drive straight-ish. Straight enough for crawling. But remember, this isn't going to be a super crazy rock crawler, except it's me, so it's probably going to wind up doing stuff like that, but we'll see when that day comes. Now, admittedly, I personally haven't seen this on any RC car. Usually when they do a 3-link with a track bar, the upper link is mounted somewhere up on the frame. That's fine. Also, I did weld stainless steel to stainless steel with a standard filler rod. The way I solved that issue was I turned the heat up. If it's melted together, it can't come apart. Doesn't matter what the filler rod is. And I'm sure there's going to be welders in here that are going to argue that point, but you do you. All right. I want to try this. Hopefully it works out, because I think that it will. But everything, the frame is now essentially together. So let's figure out a track bar mount, which is going to be quite simple. Take this, weld it somewhere over here, bring it down a little bit, run a track bar. But I need a servo, or I don't have a servo. I threw away my welding one because I melted it. Ruh-roh. Let me go find a servo, because when you're doing a track bar system, you need the track bar to be the same length as your tie rod. It's math and stuff like that. Oh, and with this also, if you're worried about like bump steer or anything like that, I personally don't understand why everybody's concerned about bump steer with rock crawlers. Bump steer is mostly affected at speed, not so much at crawling. But that is a personal opinion. Feel free to argue that in the comments. YouTube loves it. So let me go find a servo. So I have the test servo on here. Made a drag link. That's what this one's called. This one down here is called a tie rod. I did do the steering different than how this particular axle wanted. It is a double shear system, which is really cool, honestly. But I wanted this steering arm up on top. So I did that, just made a spacer down here on the bottom and moved the whole tie rod up. So now it has high steer kit. The more you know. After mocking this up, I think I'm going to be able to get away with using this bracket, one, as the mount for the servo, which is a good thing. But two, a track bar mount, I believe. I hope. I'm going to drill some holes in this for a servo, cut it pretty far down because I need to find the right angle for the track bar or panhard bar or track rod. It's called a bunch of stuff all over the place. The centering bar there, threw another one out there. That'll make some people mad, but I'm going to cut this pretty far down so that way I know where to mount the track bar, because you need it in line with your drag link. That's the best way that a 3-link track bar system works. So, or 4-link track bar system, or 5-link if you want to just not call the track bar. I'm going to cut some stuff. I'll stop talking now. You want to know one of the coolest parts about making an RC chassis out of steel is that when your vise is taken up by your RC chassis, but you need somewhere to grind stuff, you just use the RC chassis. And honestly, what am I going to do? Scratch it? I already cut this off on this, and then I decided to turn the camera on so you guys could see the absolute fun that is building an RC car out of steel. I guess it also matters how much you care about the exact quality of your final product, which I want mine to look good. Please don't get that wrong. I really do. I try my best to make these things look good, unless it's just one that I am trying to knock out for the heck of it. But I try my best to make these look good. But at the end of the day, all of this is covered by the body. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to try my best. But if I scratch it or the weld doesn't look very good, I'm going to paint it, but I'm not that concerned about perfection. And personally, I don't think everybody else should be either, but it all comes down to personal wants. If you want it to be absolutely perfect, make it absolutely perfect. I like to make an RC car. End of story. Also, if you are welding your RC chassis, it does help to have a throwaway servo. Basically, I use this one now because the last one melted, but I use bad servos to mock up where I want the good servo. I have not even ordered the servo for this particular RC yet. Another thing that you don't throw away, because it is still useful. This thing has been bad for quite a while. Still useful. I'm not holding my hat because it's funny. My microphone's on it and I didn't want to take it off. See? That right there just melted part of that servo. Okay, quick geometry lesson on the whole track bar, drag link situation and geometry, coming from a guy who can barely read a tape measure and has only used it once on this entire build. But I do know this part of the geometry. Okay, I'm a bit wrong when I say geometry, but the main thing that you want your track bar when you're making a completely custom build like this is you want your drag link and track bar to be in line with each other. Now, as you see, I have a turn in it and it is lined up right here. So those are perfect. But technically, I'm supposed to have it going from this point to that point, so it should be like that. That's how the track bar should be. But I didn't do it because I didn't want this to stick down super far. But it's not going to matter too much. And you also want the track bar to be the same length as your drag link from point to point. So that way, if you watch this piece right here, as the axle comes up, the steering does not turn. That's the point of the track bar, is to, one, keep it centered, keep it from going side to side, you know, like with all the play that it has, but nothing's really tight right now. That stays straight. So wherever you have this pointed, no matter where you go in the travel, the steering doesn't turn. Now, the eagle-eyed viewer is going to notice that my steering turns. And that's because I don't have it correct. Technically, this end should be down a bit lower, and then it wouldn't do it at all. But it is the same length, and it is essentially good enough for me to really care about it anymore. It's only turning just a little bit, a few degrees. It's not that big of a deal. And there is your quick geometry lesson from a guy who doesn't know anything about geometry. But I know about that from stuff like that, the big thing over there. So it's almost time for me to go in, but I want to put the body on this thing, see what it looks like. Do just a quick cleanup. And a half, there we go. It's a little low in the back, but once again, we have adjustments. This is the part I'm concerned about, is how far down does the front stick? Well, not too bad. So that's what I was worried about, was all this stuff sticking down way too far. But remember, we're at full bump, but I didn't want it to be super visible through here. I am going to try to make a bumper for this thing too, but that's looking pretty good. Trey, if you're watching, you know what's up. I'm kidding, I got another one planned for that, but that looks pretty good. Oh yeah, look at all the travel. So tomorrow we will make the other side mount for the steering servo, and then we will get our motor, transmission, and transfer case mounted so we can measure for drive shafts. So see you in the morning. And welcome back. We are another day back on this, or still on this. I don't know. We just did a live. Tune in on Sundays, 3 o'clock Western time. That would be 7 o'clock Eastern time, I think. I don't know. You do the math. We go live. We have fun. We just do stuff. What I did do today, after having to do boring adult stuff, was I made the second mount right there for the steering servo. So the steering servo is locked in and welded in. Now we need our transmission and motor. So I'm quite a fan of these forward mount motors. Don't know why. I've had really good luck with them. They don't have a slipper clutch in them. That's kind of what my favorite part about them is. I use this and some of its mounting brackets to mount it into here, but I need to get the motor on because I was smart this time. I put the servo in first. Normally, I mount the transmission and the motor and then realize, oh, I didn't make any room for the servo, and then I have to move everything. So I did it correctly this time. So let me get the motor mounted in this and find a home for it. So along with the things that I am a fan of are the 2-in-1 systems. It's just more compact. I like them. For this particular build, I went with the Hobbywing 2-in-1 Fusion SE. 1800 kV, 40 amp. There's all the stuff. You can pause and take a look at it. Chose this one because, well, it was $89. Now, normally I do like the Spectrum systems. You guys can argue in the comments about Spectrum is just Hobbywing. It is what it is. I like the Spectrums. I like that they're quieter. But these are good little motors. And for $89, like, you kind of can't go wrong with it, honestly. I'm going to get this mounted to this, and then we will make some brackets. And there you have it. Motor, transmission, transfer case. As you can tell by the darkness out there and the brightness right here, I'm trying to get stuff done. So I apologize for not filming it. Let me walk you through it real quick. Just did a single plate with a bolt. Now these forward mount transmissions they're designed for the SCX-10 II. I use the transmission mount, but not the frame pieces. That gives me a good mounting point and a stock mounting point onto this because it's quite tight to get it on there. Did the same on this side as well. And before anybody says anything about my transfer case, just give it a second. I'll explain that too. One thing to note for anybody who's trying to fab up their very first or their own RC car out of metal or aluminum or whatever. The one helpful bit of advice I can give, do it simple. It's really the easiest way. Now, if you want to overachieve and make the nicest motor mounts or transmission mounts or whatever, then you do you. That is completely 100% up to you. But if you want your RC car to work quicker, then just keep it simple. This is not going to have an interior. I'm putting windows on the car and none of this will be seen. So I don't care. I mean, almost all the rest of them are the same way. I try to keep it as simple as possible, as functional as possible, and serviceable. Now, if I was running an interior, I would do things differently. But since I'm not, this is how I am currently doing it. So now I will address the transfer case that you guys just saw. Yes, that is possibly the shortest drive shaft you've ever seen, and that is because it is two ends of a drive shaft. As you can see, everything still turns perfectly fine. I did have to modify this because obviously these ones, can't really see it with my finger in the way, these end pieces have the small hole, whereas the other piece of the drive shaft where it connects to has the bigger pin that the small pin goes into. Well, these didn't have that. So I drilled it out. They're the same piece, they're just drilled out differently. That's all I did. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to say something about longevity, that's not going to last for very long. And you could be right, but allow me to show you why I did it this way. This 79 series is the exact same way, and that's 1.5 years old. And I use it, and it's not light. So I know that it works. Granted, I did do it a little differently because on that one, I drilled it just big enough for a screw to put a screw through with a bolt. I didn't want to do that with this one, so I drilled out as you saw, and I'm hoping that that's going to work. If it doesn't, I'll put a screw through it. At the end of the day, the main reason why I did this is because if I would have ran the drive shaft that came with this transfer case and transmission, this transfer case would have been back here. I need drive shafts to get to the front over here. Now, as for mounting the transfer case, you can see I have a single piece of metal welded in down here, curved, and going to two of the mounts, or two of the bolt mounts right here. Now, why did I only use two of the bolt mounts? It's because I need my stuff to be serviceable, because I drive my stuff hard, and it's not exactly light. Then you're probably asking yourself, how are you supposed to take this transfer case apart if the bolts are there and you have a skid plate underneath it? I drilled holes so I can get the driver in there and I can then unbolt the transfer case. Oh, speaking of these little cheapo transfer cases, they're actually kind of neat on one aspect. This output shaft for the front, when I got this output shaft was facing this direction for a passenger side drop. This is a driver side drop. Well, the neat thing about this is you can see there's a hole there. You're actually able to take this apart and move that output shaft to either side. So you can make this a passenger side drop or a driver side drop depending on which front axle you are running. I thought that was kind of neat, and for a cheapo little transfer case, that's pretty cool. At this point right now, this frame is done. It has to be fully welded out, but I need all the electronics off. So from Waffles RC, thank you all for coming in, checking this out. This is basically ready to go, which means the body needs to be sent off to Anna for painting. You guys have asked, I do need to ask her, but I am going to give her a camera. I will request of her to film her processes on how she is going to paint this particular body. Essentially, I'm going to leave it to her to choose the color, because I'm colorblind apparently. One thing that I will do off camera before I send it off is make some sliders possibly and a battery holder, but I'm going to try that with my 3D printer actually. Ooh, not the sliders. Sliders I want metal. I may have a 3D printer. I want metal. But the battery holder, I could make that out of plastic or 3D printed, whatever it's called. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for subscribing. For everybody that's new here, welcome in. Hopefully this will inspire you as well to try and weld up your own RC chassis. Next week, upgrades are coming for the semi, because this is filmed over 2 days. So I've ordered parts. So next week we'll get the semi back out, get that Zack lift torn apart, replace the servos, lights, and install my new light system on it. And that will give Anna time to get this all painted up. So thank you all for checking out the video, and we will see you next week. But now for my regular viewers who know that what's coming next, let's see how much it weighs. It is zeroed out. Once again, you can trust me that I zero the scale out. Oh, it's a comp rig. 4 pounds, 5.6 ounces. I mean, granted, it doesn't have the body, put the body on it. 5 pounds, 4.6 ounces. I think other than the Volvo, that might be my lightest RC car that I have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It does still need wheels and tires, everything like that. But for a chassis, 5.25 pounds, that's not bad. And it's not getting an interior, so it's relatively close to its full weight. Hold on. Okay. You talked me into it. I'll do it. Probably not my smartest decision, but I'm doing it. 6 pounds, 13.4, 13.3 ounces. So almost 7 pounds. That's still not bad. Still one of my lightest. See you next week.